Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are live here. Want to say a super pleasant good morning to each and every one. Welcome to the show, Cruising with a Case Handler, a show on personal injury and immigration. It's brought to you by the powerful law firm PPID. That's Pollack, Isaac, and Nasico. And ladies and gentlemen, today we are answering your immigration questions. Do you have immigration questions? I think it's time that you reached out to us. Let's welcome the panel to Cruising with a Case Handler right now. Get your immigration questions ready. You may call 844-774-3529. You may schedule a consultation with, of course, one of the immigration attorneys at the firm, PPID. Get your questions answered. And ladies and gentlemen, I say hire them. Once again, 844-PPID-LAW. We're now live on 93.5 WVIP FM. We're now live on Facebook. Once again, place your questions in the comments section on Facebook. We'll get to your immigration questions in a matter of minutes, but I would like to welcome the attorneys on board. Let's welcome first the General, Alan E.K., one of the stalwarts in the business when it comes to immigration law. Welcome to the show, Alan E.K. Esquire. How are you feeling today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good to have you here, man. I know you're coming up with the updates on immigration in a short while. Stand by for that. Let's welcome the Maverick, Nelson Madrid. I call him the bad boy. When I say the bad boy, I mean that he's that good. We call him the bad boy, as we would say in the VX. The bad boy, meaning that he's the good one. All right. What's up, Nelson Madrid Esquire?
Good morning. How are you?
A pleasant good morning to you, my brother. It's good.
Long time no see. I feel like I haven't seen you in a minute.
I know, right? Nelson Madrid, folks, the Maverick. Once again, most of you out there that I know, some of you have had infractions with the law, been arrested, and you're seeking your immigration benefits. Don't do it by yourself. Don't go to anyone else. Go to Nelson Madrid. But call him, be straight up, be very serious, and stop lollygagging. Just say, hey, I want to hire you, and get your priorities together. Hire the man, get it done. That's Nelson Madrid, your attorney, and of course, PPID. With that said, let's get some quick updates from Alan E.K., and then we'll get into some questions with Nelson and him also. Once again, folks, thank you so much for joining us. This show is also about personal injury. In absence, we do have Adam Handler, the case handler, the man we call the shark, the beast, the hot stepper, and don't call him late for dinner. The man who has settled well over $130 million in accident cases. So if you ever get hurt in an accident, the only attorney you will need is Adam Handler. What say you, Alan E.K.? You ready to give me the update?
I'm all ready. Okay. The most important thing is the office PPID has been celebrating the release of our client who had been detained for about a year and a half, and moved all over down to Louisiana, back to New Jersey. And finally we got him out. And Nelson was instrumental in working on that case. And Nelson can give you a couple of points about how we got him out and how that worked out. And that's been on television. It's been in the newspapers. Nelson, you want to say a few words about that?
Yeah, sure. Basically, we filed pretty much a memo for reconsideration with ICE. You know, we had initially tried to have this person released and they denied our request. But we filed a memo for reconsideration and basically said that our client was high risk for contracting COVID, and asked ICE if they would reconsider his incarceration and release him to his family. And fortunately, ICE agreed. So thank you to ICE. You know, ICE, I know a lot of people portray them as bullies and, you know, and as tough to work with, and they are tough to work with. But, you know, overall, you know, I have a great relationship with them. There are some nice people. There are some people who are understanding and are willing to work with you and are willing to listen. So fortunately, we were able to get our client released, and there is a temporarily happy ending. Now we can help our client legalize his status, you know, while he's home with his family.
And what had happened was that he was on an order of supervision, and he would report in regularly to ICE. And one day they decided not to wait for him to report in. They just grabbed him from his home and took him down to Louisiana, and they were holding him for a long time.
Well, let me interject if I can for a second, Alan, because it was, again, it was a little more complicated than just that. The gentleman was under an order of supervision for 10 years, and he had another attorney representing him. And pretty much his other attorney didn't do much over that 10-year period. The purpose of being on an order of supervision is basically immigration is giving you time to sort out whatever issue you have with immigration and try to legalize your status. Obviously his previous attorney was in over his head and really didn't do much of anything. And as a result, a lot of time passed. Nothing was being done. The client was under the assumption that his attorney was taking care of it, but his attorney really wasn't doing anything. And that was how and why this gentleman was picked up. So this gentleman was on an order of supervision for an extended period of time. Again, his attorney had done nothing in the case. ICE got tired of waiting, and that was why ICE picked him up. And, again, it's common. It's not uncommon. The fact that he was given as much time as he was given and that his attorney did nothing, it's obviously not the client's fault, but the attorney's fault. The problem was that the client never went to go consult with another attorney or get a second opinion to make sure that what his attorney was doing, nothing, was actually going to help him. He believed in that one attorney he had, and it bit him, and it bit him hard.
So we are celebrating his release, and this has been on television. It's been in the newspapers, and Nelson was instrumental on that one. Let me give you some updates now.
Let me jump in there, Alan, and just give out a number. And this is the reason why yesterday, folks, we were so into that situation that, Nelson and his team helped with. And I want to say to everyone out there, immigration is truly a minefield, as the managing partner, Conrad, says. Immigration is something that you don't just let any attorney or anyone work on your case. And that's the reason why you have seen PPID on television. That's the reason why Nelson led the team, of course, with this situation with Mr. Singh. That's the reason why they work together as a team, the Allen EKs, on this project with this individual, Mr. Singh. So I say to you out there, who else would you like to have handle your immigration case? Wouldn't you like the professionals? Way too many times we look at money when it comes to the most important things in our life. However, we apply money to other things. This is a priority. This is your status in the United States. This is you getting straight, as we would say in the street. David Squeeze Annakie, I'm saying, go with PPID. Dial this number right now. The number you're about to dial is a number that you will, of course, hire them to do a consultation, retain them. Immigration is synonymous with PPID when it comes to them handling your immigration case. The number to dial right now, and let it ring 10, 15 seconds so that the Nelsons and the Allen EKs can see that you are actually storing the number for yourself or a friend. That number is 844-774-3529. That's 844-774-3529. We could answer 1 million questions, and maybe they have already answered 1 million questions. The most important thing that you can do is to hire the firm. Hire the firm. Everybody is looking for something that's free. That's fine. But listen, can you go that route free? The person on down the corner, the person in the travel agency, as Alan EK would say, the person down the block, you want to take that chance with your status in the United States? I'm not. So call PPID. The number is 844-774-3529. That's 844-PPIDLAW. I'm sorry, Alan.
Actually, wait, before Alan gets started, and just for the record, and I want to be clear, it was a team effort here. It was Conrad, Pollack, Alan EK, Yi Zhao, and myself who were working on that case simultaneously. The case is still ongoing. We are still working on it. We're in a much better position because the client is now home with his family. But I would never, I'm not one to take all of the credit for it. It was a team effort, and I just want to make
such a gentleman, man. You're such a modest gentleman there, I like that. See how honest they are, people? Once again, PPID, Pollack, Isaac, and DeSico for your immigration, 844-774-3529. And don't forget accident cases also. Alan, you may continue.
Okay, so I've been on seminars for the last few days for hours and hours and hours listening to different programs. And first of all, let me
But I'm
compliment.
sorry, Alan, when you say seminars, listening to different programs, what do you mean by that?
In other words, there've been a whole bunch of different programs about what's going on with the Biden administration, what can we expect, what's been happening. And these were hours and hours and hours that I was on the computer, watching, listening, and taking notes. And I'm going to report back to our listeners now some of the things that I've heard, all the new developments. And one of the most important new developments is that the DREAM Act of 2021, a new bill, has been introduced into Congress, authored by Senators Dick Durbin, a Democrat, and Lindsey Graham, a Republican. And this is called the DREAM Act of 2021, and would provide young people who came to this country as children, grew up in the United States, would give them a chance to apply for permanent resident status and eventually citizenship. So this DREAM Act of 2021, introduced by a Republican and a Democrat, and these were important Republicans and Democrats. This is really a good sign in terms of helping the kids who are here on DACA and even kids who are not on DACA yet. Okay, so let me give you some of the information that I've gleaned from hours that I was listening to different programs in the last couple of days. Now, if you have a problem with USCIS, normally you would call the contact center. The contact center, you can reach them between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern time, and also on Saturday. You can reach them on weekends between 8 and 3, but probably you're better off calling PPID and letting us do the case for you instead of trying to get on the phone with the contact center. Now, the new immigration bill, Immigration Act of 2021, which provides a lot of really, really good things, which we'll talk about, is supposed to be introduced into Congress sometime this week. We kind of know some of the provisions which we'll talk about, but nobody has seen the language yet because it hasn't been introduced yet. But one of the provisions which our listeners will be happy to hear is that it would end the 3 and 10 year bar. Basically, if you've been here illegally more than a certain period of time, you're barred for 3 years and coming back. If you're here illegally or your time expired more than a year, you're barred for 10 years from coming back. That is a big, big problem. And this Immigration Act of 2021 would end the 3 and 10 year bar. Now, also, President Biden has issued an executive order which was supposed to be protect and fortify DACA, because there's a court case in Texas which is now pending, which would end DACA, invalidate DACA. So at least the Biden administration is committed to protect it and fortify it and make it stronger. And we're hoping that the DREAM Act will pass through anyway. Also, Trump has put in an executive order which calls for a review of all policies enacted in terms of interior enforcement under the ex-president. So there is a deportation moratorium, and I'll talk about that in 1 minute. But basically, the moratorium will call for a 100-day pause on deportation. It's currently not in effect because there's a lawsuit in Texas going on which put a hold on that 100-day pause on deportation. However, there are some parts of that enforcement moratorium from the Biden administration that is in effect now. Also, there's an executive order pending by the Biden administration which will rescind the public charge rule. The public charge rule has been a headache and a problem for a lot of people. It's at 944 form, and the Biden administration is on track to rescind the public charge rule. Also, there's an executive order.
I'm sorry, just to
Yes.
just to clarify something.
Yes.
They're on track to rescind. It doesn't mean it's been rescinded. If you're
Correct.
filing for adjustment of status, it's required.
It has not been rescinded, so right now you have to fill out that 944 form. If you filed an application for adjustment of status without the 944 public charge form, either they can reject your application because you didn't put the 944 in, or they can send you a notice saying we need that 944 and you have a certain period of time to get it in. It's
A request for evidence.
it's a difficult form to work with, and if you want to go, PPID will be happy to help you work on it. Now, also, an executive order has been put out by the President Biden to end the harmful provisions of the naturalization process. And one of the harmful provisions was a much higher filing fee. And that's one of the provisions that the Biden administration will try to do that and change that much higher filing fee. They'll also will try to change the civic test, because everybody knows that the previous administration put in a civics test to make it much harder for people to pass the civics test and become citizens. And so the Biden administration is on track to try to change that civics test. Next, we're expecting new ICE guidelines, which are supposed to be in effect by February 1st, but are not out yet, to give a better idea about who will be arrested and who will be deported, but much kind of nicer and better than it was on the previous administration. Now, interesting figures, we know that there are 13,000 to 14,000 people locked up in detention centers throughout the country. And obviously that's a problem because of the pandemic. We know that there are 5.5 million undocumented essential workers in the United States out of a total of 11 million. That's the size of the unauthorized population. And the DACA dreamers are part of that 11 million people here. The bans, the non-immigrant and immigrant bans, are supposed to expire by the end of March. So we're hoping that Congress will pass the DREAM Act. We're looking for a permanent solution for these DACA people. It's been taking 2 decades for Congress to try to do something about it. The public is in favor of doing something for these kids, and we're hoping that something will happen. Now, of the 11 million people who are undocumented in the United States, obviously the government cannot deport 11 million people who are here without status. Something has to be done about that. Now, let's talk about removal cases, and Nelson handles the removal cases for the office, and there's a huge backlog in removal cases. 1.3 million cases currently pending in removal cases, and only 500 immigration judges. So if you do the mathematics, with 1.3 million removal cases pending and only 500 immigration judges, figure out for yourself how long it's going to take them to get through that. Now, normally we would get a notice from USCIS, from EOIR, about where they're up to in terms of cases. In other words, there are non-detained cases, there are detained cases, there are 3 immigration courts in New York. And the last announcement that we got from EOIR, the Executive Office for Immigration Review, was issued on January 25th, 2021, 2 weeks ago. And normally we get these announcements every week. So the question is whether EOIR's silence on continuing closings mean that the non-detained cases will start being heard February 22, 2021. We were expecting a formal announcement on this. We haven't heard anything, but maybe it's a good sign that they may start to be moving these removal cases. So let me just give you some more of the highlights. Again, we're expecting the Immigration Act of 2021 to be introduced sometime this week. We don't have, we know what's going to be in it, but it'd be nice to see the provisions. I think that now, that basically is some of the highlights of what I picked up in my listening to these seminars. Hopefully Congress will pass this DREAM Act. In the meantime, the Biden administration is trying to fortify and help these kids. 70% or 80% of the public is in favor of helping these young kids who came here at a young age and are still here. So as soon as we get some, as soon as the Immigration Act of 2021 is introduced, and it's supposed to be introduced this week, we will come back to you and tell you exactly what's in it. So that's some of the highlights about what is going on right now. And
Beautiful.
right now, in terms of removal cases, you have to wait 4 or 5 or 6 years now for a decision. And hopefully that's going to end, and they're going to fix the removal system, which is hopelessly out of date. So these are some of the ideas that I picked up from listening to the seminars that I was on for. I was on for hours and hours in the past week. So that gives you an update about what is going on lately, and I will keep you informed that as soon as the Immigration Act of 2020 is formally introduced, we will come back to you and give you the provisions, the actual provisions, because we'd like to see it in writing. We kind of know what's going on. So that's some of the updates, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. Nelson, you want to
Well,
add?
Alan, yeah. Also, you forgot to mention non-detained hearing cases for New York City have been postponed through March 19, 2021. So if you are or were scheduled to appear before the immigration court on a non-detained case would be 26 Federal Plaza or 290 Broadway. All hearings through March 19th, 2021 have been postponed and will be rescheduled.
Yeah, and they keep pushing the date back and back and back. So if you have a removal proceeding and you're not detained and you're waiting for a date to be fixed, they keep pushing the date back and back and back. And that's part of all this huge backlog in removal cases and only 500 immigration judges throughout the country. So that's some of the updates that we've come up with, and waiting to see what happens with the 100-day pause. The court in Texas has put a hold on the 100-day pause on deportation by the Biden administration. That was supposed to be, the decision was made, it was supposed to be made by the court last week, and the judge postponed it to February 23rd. So we're hoping that something positive will come and that the full Biden administration 100-day moratorium on removal will go into effect. So that's some of the ideas that have been going on, and that I picked up in the last week or so. And I've been on the phone hours and hours and hours taking notes and listening, and I should have much more to report on the next program.
Thank you so much. You're about to say something, Nelson?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you so much. That's the update, ladies and gentlemen, on the immigration update side. His name is Alan E.K. We also got Nelson Madrid here from the law firm Pollack, Isaac, and Nasico. Do give them a ring. Set up your consultation. Hire them. Let them handle your case. If you're out there and you're seeking immigration benefits, you want to find out how you go about getting your green card or whatever it is in reference to U.S. immigration, call the firm, do the consultation. 844-774-3529. Jumping to some questions here before we get to the top of the hour. And the first question that I have here is, it says here, my visa was canceled. Can my husband file for me? I am a Jamaican and my fiance is a United States citizen, but not by birth. We have known each other for 7 years and we have shared a relationship for 2 years now. He visits me here in Jamaica a couple of times and sends money every month for my son and myself. Can he apply for a fiancé visa for me, and how long would it take?
The answer is yes. An American citizen can file a fiancé visa petition for his or her fiancé. Obviously, the petitioner, the U.S. citizen, has to be either never married or divorced. The beneficiary back in Jamaica has to be never married or divorced. So that fiancé visa petition can be filed. It might take a year or 6 or 9 months until it gets approved. And then it goes to the National Visa Center, and the National Visa Center will then schedule an appointment at the consulate. Keep in mind that the people at the consulate are very suspicious about fiancé cases, and they sometimes think that this is just a ruse to get somebody here and they're not really going to get married. So the answer is yes, he can file a fiance visa petition. I don't understand why the person said it was canceled, what was canceled, but in any event, yes, US citizens should file a fiance visa petition. Do it. If you need any help, get in touch with PPID.
You know, and just for clarification, the fiance visa just allows the person to enter the United States. And once in the United States, they have 90 days to get married. If they don't get married to that person who filed that fiance visa, they have to go back. You know, so you can't come in, you know, Squeeze, let me simplify this. You can't petition for someone to enter the United States on a fiance visa. It doesn't work out with her and you, and all of a sudden she wants to marry Alan and thinks she's going to get a green card through Alan. It doesn't work that way. If you file the petition for her, she has to marry you within those 90 days.
Gotcha.
And after she marries you, or hopefully she marries you within those 90 days, you still have to file for adjustment of status for her to get a green card. So it's actually a two-step process.
But
Wow.
at least if she comes here on a fiance visa and they get married within 90 days, she doesn't have to go back. She can stay here. You get married within 90 days. You file for adjustment of status. You can get the visa here. Do not have to go back.
Okay. Once again, folks, you're in tune to, of course, Cruising with a Case Handler, a show on immigration and personal injury. The number to reach them at the firm for that full service law firm happens to be 844-PPID-LAW. That's 844-774-3529. Let's see if we can squeeze in this one before we get to the top of the hour. I have a relative who is in the United States on a visa and he has overstayed his allotted time. He wants to return home. He needs advice desperately, but is afraid to ask. I'm hoping that you can shed some light on this for us.
Well, again, anytime anyone overstays, if you overstay for 6 months but less than a year, you're subject to a 3-year bar. If you overstay for a year or more, you're subject to a 10-year bar. You know, I think that's pretty much it. That's
Very
just what the law is. It's very straightforward, correct?
So the idea is that do not try to overstay more than 6 months or you'll have a problem. Come and see us before that, and we can see if we can sort things out for you. But or just leave before your visa expires. Theoretically, obviously, if you are in a relationship with a lady or man and your visa expires, but you've been here and you get married, you can file for adjustment of status here, even if your visa has expired, even if you're subject to the 3 and 10-year bar. If you go home, if you get married to an American or permanent resident, and it's a real marriage, not a marriage of convenience, you can file for adjustment and get the visa here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was it for the questions right here on, of course, Cruising with a Case Handler, a show on personal injury and immigration. Want to say thanks to you, Alan EK. Want to say thanks to you, Nelson Madrid. Where's everybody?
I think Adam is actually taking care of something.
Right.
I think Adam is taking care of something, and I think Conrad took the day off.
Okay.
You know, it's actually funny. I'm not used to speaking so much, by the way, so it kind of throws me for a loop. You know, I mean, there's obviously dead space, right? But yeah, that's pretty much. So Alan and I got the winning ticket for a Friday. I guess nobody likes to work on a Friday.
Hey, you know.
Nelson and I are happy to fill up the dead space.
Correct.
Quite sure. No problem. Gentlemen, you have done great as usual. I do appreciate you both. And thank you so much for being here for the communities. Everyone on Facebook who is sharing now to all the pages and groups and so forth. We appreciate you also. And you all have yourself an amazing weekend, Nelson, Alan, and all of you watching and listening to us. It's appreciated. Thank you so much. Do remember the number for a full service law firm here in New York happens to be Pollack, Isaac, and Nasico, 844-774-3529. That's 844-774-3529. Tomorrow and Sunday, you'll catch us in retrospect, respectively between 6 and 8 p.m. and 10 and 2 p.m. On Monday, we'll have a fresh show at 9:30 a.m. Thanks again, gentlemen, and thanks so much, listeners and viewers. Have yourself a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.